Hello, I'm Angus from Cracka Wines, and today we have Tamara Washington from Yealands, New Zealand, Marlborough vigneron, winemaker. I was reading online, rising star of the New Zealand wine trade. How do you feel about that?
No.
That's what they say.
I've been around for years.
Right, 20 years. Lovely. Family, you grew up with Sauvignon Blanc, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Not
That's
quite.
True.
Really? Is that?
I grew up in Marlborough, yeah.
Lovely. So you're Marlborough.
Family not involved, but
Yeah.
grew up amongst the vines.
So you've seen Blenheim change from small to amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the wine industry, it's
How
been
is
huge.
obviously Marlborough's gone from being this this backwater, I say it in the nicest possible way, to like this centre of great New Zealand wine and the centre of New Zealand wine in the world really, and New Zealand has the highest price of base price of wine anywhere in the world. I mean, what is New Zealand? How far has it got to go? Do you think, like the New Zealand savvy thing? Do you think we're just the beginning of the history, and it's going to expand to to all corners of the globe and be seen like Sancerre and as a because I guess at the moment it's seen as a commercial place making wine. Where's it going to go from here? Do you think?
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, I mean, for me, I was out of the industry I was away for 10 years overseas making wine, and I sort of followed.
Where were you making wine?
I was in Italy actually.
Lovely.
Down in Sicily, so
Awesome.
dealing with all sorts of warm or hot climate wines, wine varieties and things like that. So everything very
Who
different.
were you working for in
to
Sicily?
Calatrasi, which is quite a large company there. But from afar, I sort of was following what was happening in New Zealand in the wine industry, especially in Marlborough. And I was really impressed, it seemed very buoyant, and the wines, just how that evolved and what I tasted at shows overseas, fantastic. So I sort of wanted to be a part of that and came back. But I think now, it's the wines that are coming out of there, Sauvignon Blancs, a range of styles coming out now, and some excellent wines. There's been more work on sub-regions, developing different sub-regions, and now educating the consumer about the different sub-regions.
Yeah, I mean,
producing different styles, so hopefully people can see it's not just a one style.
I mean, it actually kind of mirrors the Australian Shiraz story in terms of the UK market, US market. Wanted this big ballsy style, but now we're actually changing away. We're moving away from that with A+ wine and really trying to show that there is cool climate wines, there's warm climate wines, and we can produce this range of styles. But enough about where the world of wine is going. Let's taste some wine. We've got 3 Sauvignon Blancs, range of styles. Hit me with them.
This is as we were talking about the different styles and sub-regions. We're actually in the Awatiri Valley.
Okay.
So it's quite a unique sub-region, cooler than other sub-regions in Marlborough. So stylistically, looking at quite a different range or different profile of flavours. Lots of minerality.
Yep.
Slightly herbal, so herbals there, a bit of black currant as well, which we do get in our Sauvignons.
I love it when people say that, because I always find that in Sauvignon Blanc, but it's like people see white wine, black currant, doesn't work.
That's right.
But of course, Cabernet Sauvignon, Sauvignon Blanc is a parent of Cabernet Sauvignon.
Exactly. So we see that quite a bit. What we've got though, to show you the different styles, coming from the one vineyard, because we have a single vineyard. Which is in the Awatiri Valley. Basically, lots of little different microclimates within that vineyard. Some blocks are coastal, some going up to sort of more inland areas. Coming from the same vineyard, same variety, 3 different wines. 3 very different wines.
And different price points, of course.
Exactly. This is our sort of our Yealands Way 2010.
Of course.
So this is our sort of entry-level wine. But it still has to be very much true to our vineyard, true to the style we're wanting to do.
And you're playing with biodynamic and organic?
Not biodynamic, but basically the vineyard's been set up, and the winery, with the whole holistic approach of trying to have the most minimal effect on the environment in terms of minimal use of energy, lots of recycling. We are trialling a little bit with organics. So we'll see how that goes.
Brilliant. So this is, fresh, cool ferment, I guess, the typical New Zealand style, what people want, that sunshine in a glass, passion fruit in a glass, but also with that, it's almost stinging kind of acidity, I guess.
Exactly. It needs to be what people are expecting with the Sauvignon Blanc. But as I said, still needs to be true to our vineyard.
I mean, this is pretty, it lacks I mean lack in a nice way. Sometimes I guess the lower price points. This is not the lowest of price points certainly, but the lower price points often they have these massive animal canopies, and you just get it so much shaded fruit that it's just all methoxypyrazines, all greenness. Whereas this is kind of more grassiness. It doesn't really smash you with that herbaceous sweaty characters you often see.
It's quite restrained that way. Actually, I think 2010 was a fantastic vintage for us, and even though we got quite a lot of herbal flavours coming through some of the blocks, we got some riper flavours as well. And I think that this wine represents that. There's quite a lot of different flavours in there.
I like it. It's at the moment there's just a lot of Savvy around, but this wine I think stands out for being not trying to be too obvious. It's pretty dry.
Yeah, it is.
It's fresh without being too lean, but it's got fruit, and it's actually got it's got genuine lengths. Some of these wines, they hit you between the eyes with this massive fruit, but then it all just falls away. Whereas this kind of I think has some nice genuine length, and that's like $15 or something like that in the retail market, which is a pretty fair price, I think.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think it represents very good quality for the price. Yeah. And we're quite lucky in that we manage everything.
That's right.
Our winery, we've got our own vineyards which we manage. Our own winery, we're a true company, a true brand, a brand that you can go onto the internet and see. Oh,
see the
shed. Winery. It's actually there.
Right.
So
we'll be drinking a bit of Savvy today.
Oh, that gets the day started very well.
Awesome. So that's obviously cool ferment, no lees work, in and out, bottle it fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. Needs to be very clean, fresh. As you said, cool ferment. And then we move up to, we have our Yealands Estate Sauvignon Blanc, same vintage.
Yep.
Whereas the one we previously had was a blend of about 12 different blocks from our vineyard.
Yep.
So sort of larger in volume as well. We sell it globally.
Yep.
Yealands Estate is a blend of actually 2 blocks from our vineyard, two of what I sort of select out as the very best blocks.
Okay.
I basically harvest the blocks separately, make the wine separately. Yep. So after vintage I might have 90 tanks of Sauvignon Blanc to wrap my laughing gear around. Yeah. So, 2 blocks. And this has actually also had still cool ferment, but time on lees.
Yeah.
About
6
3
months?
to more like 4 months.
Okay.
We bottled this wine October.
And any stirring? Or you
and
just
stirring as well.
But not regular stirring, it's just like a bit
just when tasting and then we'd do them.
Snake?
Snake?
Use the snake in the tank, is that right? Like the kind of lee snake is that right?
Well, our tanks, no, we don't have a lee snake as such.
Yeah.
Snake as such, but no, we do. We mix.
Right. Okay.
We mix using a pump. So, yeah.
So you can see, I think that the leesiness really adds a bit of not only interest but real texture to it. Like you can really smell the additional weight you get from the lees, and but it's still it's still beautifully kind of clean fruit. And I think for Marlborough to go ahead, it's like Australian Shiraz. For it to go ahead, it really needs more people taking more time, not just in and out in terms of their fruit and high yielding, all that kind of thing. What's the yield? What kind of yield are you guys at?
We actually, because
across the
obviously differs between blocks, but it's very extreme where we are.
Yeah.
It's very windy.
Yeah. That's true.
I always feel sorry for the vineyard staff out there.
Pruning staff.
Yeah, it's incredibly windy. So we're ranging from anywhere from 8 tonnes per hectare for Sauvignon, 8 tonnes per hectare, up to 11, 12 tonnes per hectare on some of the blocks, but nothing more than that.
It's there was a decent amount of warmth in the vintage of 2010, wasn't there? And I think you really see some kind of guava fruit on that kind of wine. Like it's a generous vintage. It's not a, and it's probably a good, almost for people who don't know the wines, which, there'd be 2 people on the face of the earth who don't, I guess. But it's, it's a nice, generous introduction to the styles. And the acid's not so stinging, especially the Aguatera style, which can be pretty lean and...
Yes. We got a lot of, from 2010 vintage, there's a lot of fruit generosity. Yeah. Sweet fruit. So this was fermented dry.
Yep.
But, mid palate you can see the nice fleshy fruit weight, which is coming from the right fruit. And then the lovely sort of mineral acidity to finish with the length. So, it's a style that it's us,
Yeah.
We love this sort of style, and it's what we do well. Sauvignon's our flagship variety.
Of course.
And then we'll move on.
Of course. In terms of, and while we're about to look at another Sab, but what other grapes within the New Zealand context? Where do you, Marlborough's obviously been the flag bearer. where are the other opportunities? Do you think? Does New Zealand have the, obviously Pinot they're going very strongly on, and some Syrah, Hawke's Bay Syrah, Merlot.
Yes.
Do you see them as ever coming to the level of Savvy and a world awareness, or do you think Savvy's going to be the Chardonnay and Shiraz of Australia kind of thing?
Well, definitely Pinot Noir. I mean,
Yep.
Pinot Noir is really coming on,
Yep.
and with the different regions, Central Otago, Marlborough, Martinborough.
Yep.
I think.
What's your favourite
region?
Yeah, for Pinot.
Marlborough, of course.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a bit difficult actually, because I love Martinborough Pinots as well.
So do I.
Martinborough is fantastic.
So do I.
Marlborough, some really, really interesting Pinots.
They got to be careful though in Marlborough though. They got to be really careful, because they're often herbal, but if they're too herbal, it takes away from them. But they can be really like Hans Herzog.
Oh, Hans Herzog, amazing. His Pinot's fantastic.
Yeah.
But also Central Otago as well. I mean, it's hard to say one region, because I think every region gives something a little bit different, and which helps with the diversity, for the country.
Yeah.
Pinot Gris is something that, well, for us especially, is really coming on stream, and we are having success globally.
Probably can't make enough.
Exactly. We haven't been able to in the past.
Yeah.
Riesling.
Yep.
We actually I think we have about 9 varieties on our vineyard.
Right.
We do Viognier, we do Gruner Veltliner, which we made a little bit of last year, which is something to watch as well.
Yeah.
Tempranillo we have on our vineyard.
Right.
So
I think all those aromatic whites, like Gruner and stuff like that, and Riesling, there is actually great opportunity. And New Zealand Riesling often gets overlooked. I think people like, but even something like Kim Crawford actually can historically be like a pretty handy Riesling,
Oh, absolutely.
And the stony soils, you've got all these stony soils all over the place.
Yeah.
So we should go to the piece de resistance,
Absolutely.
Excuse me. There we go.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So we've got your Reserve Sauvignon Blanc, and Reserve is, obviously you step up with additional complexity from, barrel and maturation and ferment.
Absolutely.
Okay. And wild yeast, do you play around with any?
We did. This is, although, now you sort of see there's a lot of styles, a number of producers making a Sauvignon in this style.
Yep.
But this is not 100% that style.
Right.
So it was 2009 vintage, so the year before, so it's had a bit of time in bottle.
Okay.
And what it started off as me wanting to diversify and seeing the opportunity and the potential from our vineyard.
Yep.
So I left a portion of fruit out for quite some time to get it as really ripe.
Yeah.
And then hand harvested, so made quite a bit differently.
Yep.
Hand harvested, and then a portion as juice straight into oak, French oak, puncheons and barrels.
Solids?
Solids, full solids.
Full solids, right? Fantastic.
I had probably a light racking, but still with quite a bit of solids in there. And then
nice murky juice.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
And then just let it go, let it do its thing. So I didn't actually do much. I didn't do what I was paid to do.
No
actually.
winemaking.
Minimal intervention.
Yep. Okay.
So it fermented wild, that portion.
Yep.
And then it went through malolactic fermentation.
And tank,
wild.
how much was tank? Or
at that point, I had about it was about 50% in oak.
Yep.
No, less than that. Sorry, it was about 40% in oak and 60% in tank.
Okay.
And the tank portion was made similar to Yealands Estate, so time on lees, but using selected yeasts as well, and no malolactic fermentation.
Right.
And then after about 6 months, I thought I'd better have a look at those barrels and see what happened. So it had gone through malolactic fermentation as well, which was great, and just amazing complexity and structure, but on its own, just a little bit too left field, I think. Yeah. So then I had the fun of it was the blending.
Yeah, of course.
How much the tank portion to the oak. So how it panned out, it's just over 30% wild barrel portion to 70, just under 70% tank.
Okay. Gee, it's the malolactic really stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's really coming into its own, this wine.
It's
developing all the time.
Now, because this is obviously a kind of new project. You've had a year and I guess a second year to kind of have a look at how it's going. Is that the kind of 70-30 split? Is that what you'd stick with in the future, or?
It's hard to say. I mean, it really depends on vintage and fruit and how it works. But I can't see us going over 50% oaked portion, but maybe there'll be room to move if we, want to sort of develop even more of those characteristics.
And the market laps this kind of stuff up?
Yeah, it's really, we bottled it quite late. We released it, I think it was sort of October, November last year, maybe a little bit before. But yeah, no, I've just had 4 weeks over in Europe, sales trip, and we showed it to quite a few markets, and it was received really well, actually. Yeah, really had some really good reviews and so forth. So
it's actually, I think some people, when it comes to Marlborough, that acidity that comes in the wines, the freshness can sometimes be too much. Whereas that kind of barrel work and that mallow work obviously has just given it some soft, creamy textures. So it's like for people who want a bit of old fashioned Chardonnay, you kind of style with a bit of oak, but not too much oak. The oak isn't sticking out.
We definitely, that was the kind of key, not for the oak not to really be prevalent or to be the main part of the wine.
Great food style.
Yeah.
Like white grapes kind of thing, really, that oak and that texture elements really make it, exceptional food style. This is a lovely wine.
It is, and it really, it's probably a wee bit cold, but it's still got the beautiful mineral length, but it has got the fleshiness, the fatness on the mid palate. You can feel the malo.
Yeah.
But it's still a Sauvignon, which is great. You can still see that that's a Sauvignon. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Tamara. Thanks for showing us your 3 wines. And we look forward to seeing you back here again at
Absolutely.
The famed Cracka Studio.
Can't wait.